Hello artists, happy Dr. Seuss week. Today we are going to be looking at Dr. Seuss's houses. Most of the books that he wrote, he illustrated, and he has a interesting style. It's very whimsical. There's lots of straight lines, but then it kind of adds a curve, lots of organic shapes. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing Dr. Seuss houses. Okay, now I'm going to be using a piece of colored construction paper. Notice this one's turned horizontally, it's long. This one's just a different color, and I did it vertically, it's tall. So you could choose to use a colored piece of construction paper, or you could do just a regular white piece of paper, and then you can add your own color on there. Okay, so let's get started. Okay guys, so here is our learning purpose for today. I can draw houses inspired by Dr. Seuss's illustrations, and then I can use hatching and cross-hatching to create value like Dr. Seuss. Okay, so let's talk about that first one, and we'll come back to the second. These are some illustrations from Oh, the Places You'll Go, and I wanted to stop for a moment before we get started and look at the buildings that we see. Okay, I'm also going to be drawing a lot of inspiration from the colors in this book. You'll notice the paper I'm using is going to have the same colors. When I colored my house before, I used the same colors. So I'm going to be using the colors as well. But let's talk about the lines and the shapes we see. Are the houses necessarily realistic? Not quite. There are realistic elements. For example, you see like a triangle shape at the top, how we would normally draw a house. A lot of the windows have curves on them. You see it has little shingles on the roof, but I don't know of a bridge or a tunnel that goes like that. So again, he takes some realistic elements and then adds some fun, wonky lines to them and wonky shapes. So let's move to the next one. Again, this one's also from Oh, the Places You Will Go. You'll see the same little guy on there. And again, you're seeing those same things. Curves on the windows. Again, it looks like this part is pretty realistic, but then he tilts the angle of it. He adds some curves. So when we're drawing these houses, they don't necessarily have to be a realistic house, a square with a triangle on top. You could add any kind of different elements to it. They can be as fun, and again, I'm gonna keep using that word wonky and whimsical as you would like on this. Okay, now our second learning purpose is I can use hatching and cross-hatching to create value. That is one way that Dr. Seuss created value in his books. I have with me Horton Hears a Who, and in here, I just tabbed a couple places. Hatching is when you have little lines and you put them close together or far apart to create value. You can see an example of that here. I put this together. You can see how you just add lines to have either lightness, and the closer they are, the darker it looks. And then cross-hatching, instead of the lines all going one way, it kind of does a tic-tac-toe. So you'll have this way and then add them that way. So again, we have cross-hatching. It goes from being light, and you'll notice how the lines get closer together and there are more of them, to very dark. Okay, so now we've seen cross-hatching and regular hatching. Let's look for that in Horton Hears a Who. You can see he uses the hatching to make it look a little bit more 3D. Here we go, we'll see it down here as well. Let's see, here's another page for it. And this could give us some cool ideas for when we get ready to draw our house too. He's got a flower pot, cool archway here. Again, we've got that hatching here. You'll see some cross hatching. See how it goes this way and then it goes the other way as well. There's one more. So he adds that line and then the hatching to make it look more 3D. And again, to add that value, because on this you'll see he's only using blue, red, and then he has the black and white. So this is a way he can add a lot more detail and again, that value without having to use lots and lots of colors. You can see it here as well on this side. last one. This one is right out of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And this one has a lot of hatching and cross hatching. So we see we have the hatching here, hatching in the windows. Then we have some cross hatching up here for the snow. And again, we're going to add those little lines just to make it look more 3D and to add that value. Okay, so again, you are going to need a piece of paper. It can be a plain white piece of paper. It could be a colored piece of paper. I'm going to use yellow because, like I told you, I was going to be drawing a lot of inspiration from the places you will go. Okay, and then I'm going to use a Sharpie, but if you want to draw with a pencil first and then trace it, that is fine. And then remember, if you're going to use a white piece of paper, you may want to grab some crayons as well. Okay? So before we get started, go ahead and decide if you want your paper to be long and horizontal or if you want it to be tall and vertical. Either way is fine. Okay, either way. And since you don't necessarily have to color this one, if you're using color paper, you could do one of each. That's really your choice, okay? I'm gonna make mine long and horizontal, I believe. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the bottom, and I'm just gonna go ahead and add a line. Now, when we look at this picture, we see how there's lots of openings in different places, so I'm gonna add that in a minute, but I wanna kinda get the outline first. So I'm gonna start with the long line. Go. And it's about the width of my finger off the bottom of the page. Okay. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna just, remember we talked about how it's straight lines with some curves and then mixing those two things together. It's not always perfectly geometric. So I'm gonna come over and go straight and add a big curve. Let's see, let's come over here. And when you do this, you just wanna be real free with the lines. Okay? I kind of loosen up a little bit. So let's try this, we'll make a little wave. There we go. Okay, so let's see, what if now I add this in, and again, there's no exact way to do your house. And kind of go up, like a sofa. There we go. Okay, so now what do I want to add in there? I'm going to add a doorway, because again we see lots of curves in these illustrations, so I'm going to use that for inspiration. You see how it has that part going around it? I'm going to do that too. Let's see. Add a little doorknob. There we go. Let's see. I'm going to add some windows up here. Again, a curve. Sneaks out the bottom as well. Getting that overlapping. Let's see, here I'm going to do one. Kind of curve it around. And maybe you want to incorporate some other kind of windows. Like maybe you want a cool flower window. That would work. Okay, it's really, there's no wrong way to do it. As long as you're combining those straight lines, like geometry, and then adding those more organic, the wavy lines, putting those two things together. Now, I want to go in and I want to start making it have those more 3D elements to it, and then I can go in and add the hatching to make the values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over, and first I'm going to come at the bottom, and I'm just going to draw a line that goes out. There we go, and I'm going to start up here. I'm just going to add a line that goes down the side. Okay, so again, I started at the foot of it, add a line, and then I just kind of meet it up. Okay, let's see, where else do we want to do that? Let's do that for the windows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add that foot. Here we're going to do it like that too. You ready? Kind of go down. Same thing here. Kind of go down. Maybe you want to add some stairs. I'm going to do it with the zigzag line. Make mine kind of go off paper. and the bottom. And what you'll do to make it more 3D is you're gonna add another, oops, another zigzag line beside it. So again, they're not quite touching. And now let's make it more 3D. I'm gonna connect those corners. Just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna pause for a moment, and then when I'm done, I'll go back in and add more fun little elements to it. But now I wanna go in, and I wanna start adding the hatching, which again is just lines in one direction to create that value, and then some cross hatching as well. And again, that one's gonna look more like a tic-tac-toe board. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here, and I am gonna go in, and I'm gonna add some little lines for that hatching. See how they're all going in the same direction? That's the key, okay? Now, maybe I wanna do some cross hatching here. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go in the one direction and then turn it the other way like a tic-tac-toe board. Just like that. Same thing. Do one more time, turn the direction. Again, that's gonna just make it more 3D. There we go. Okay, now what about over here? I'm gonna do that hatching again. I'm just gonna keep following this line, but this spot is pretty wide, so I'm actually gonna do some small lines first, and then I'll come back. Kinda add that. If you need to turn your paper a little bit, that's totally fine. Back here too. Again, this is a technique that he would use in a good portion of his illustrations. If you were to go and look at the Cat in the Hat, you would see the same technique to create that value, because you'll notice Cat in the Hat, he's using those very minimal colors as well. I believe it's blue, red, and then the black and white, just like in Horton Hears a Who. Okay, so I've got that, and now I want to go in and I want to start adding some more fun little elements. Let's see, so I could come up here. I could add some shutters on here if I wanted to. I'm going to add a little dome. The little chimney. So now I'm just going in and adding some little details, the little box line. I'm going to use some cross hatching up here. Turn it. So again, as you're drawing this, you do not have to copy what I'm doing. I would rather you do your own, of course. Okay? You do not have to do it the exact way that I am doing mine. The key is, like I said, to incorporate those straight lines with the curves, okay? Some realistic elements, like here we have a rectangle, here we have the curved one, and then adding those wavy, again, the organic lines with it. The combination of the two is really what gets that Dr. Seuss feel, okay? So I see one thing I forgot to do. You probably noticed it. I forgot to add some hatching onto my stairs. So to make them look even more 3D, I'm going to come over, and again, I'm going to follow this line, and I'm going to add those little lines. Okay, you'll notice I'm not coloring it black. That's not what I want. I want those lines there. The closer they are together, the darker it will get. There we go. Seuss style doorbell there too. So yeah, just adding different fun things. Okay, so I'm gonna do another one. And again, I'm going to be using those straight lines, incorporating the wavy, organic, wonky lines in there. This time I'm gonna do one that is vertical. Remember, you only have to do one, but if you wanna do more, go for it. So this time, again, I am going to start with that bottom line first, okay? Now maybe you want there to be a opening in there. Then what I'll do is I'll go ahead, add that big curve, and keep going, okay? Then I can go in, I'm gonna start adding some waves. Add some stairs. Now guys, I cannot wait to see what you do with yours, okay? So when you're done, don't forget to go into the exit ticket and to upload your picture, if that's okay with your parent, because like I said, I would love to see, what you're working on. It's so much fun when I'm able to open those up and see your exact work. Okay, so I'm gonna go in, let's add some cool stuff. Now I wanna make it more 3D, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make this go up. I'm gonna add the foot on there. I gotta turn my paper. Just trying to keep it straight for you, but I'm just gonna have to turn it. So again, just kind of have fun with it. Think about what you want to put here. If you want to put a sign, maybe yours, you want to think if your house was done in Dr. Seuss style, or maybe you want to switch yours up and do a store or something. That would be fun too. It's really your choice. What do you want it to look like? Switch it up here. I'm gonna do a pattern up here. I don't want to have so much right there together, so I'm gonna do a different kind of pattern here. Polka dots. Put them close together so that way I kind of get that hatching too. This actually has a different art name. when you put dots close together like that with the intent of creating value, it's called stippling. So you can incorporate that too if you wanted to. Here we go. Add a foot there. Connect it, and then remember, connect the corners. And then where the part connects it, then you'll do the hatching. And this spot is pretty wide, so I'm gonna do two rows of short lines to connect it. There we go. I'm gonna add one here too. See, I turn it and I turn that one into cross hatching. That way there's some variety there as well. Let's see, let's add something here, like a railing. There we go. Okay, now when you're done, don't forget to go in and to complete your exit ticket. And like I said, if you want to add a picture, I would love that, and then I can see kind of what you did as well. There we go. Happy Dr. Seuss Week.